Hello friends, today we're in the car in a parking lot talking about what it means to be present, because I thought what better time to film this video than in the present. So, being present, yeah, that's a funny topic. I think it's probably one of the first things you'll hear about when you're in the wellness spaces, and it's a fundamental principle really, for a reason, because it is deeply important, but I find because it's such a basic principle, it's pretty easy to think you know everything about what it is to be present, or perhaps just underestimate the value in such a simple key tenet of the sort of mindfulness wellness spaces. So I wanted to talk about what is it to be present. I've gone through a big journey with that over the years, and it seems to be quite ever evolving for me. So I guess my understanding of being present is just to be here now, in the grounded moment, because the reality is no other moment actually exists except for the one you are currently in. Of course, we know that we have experienced other moments, and perhaps we've been informed and changed by other moments, and it's important to have a degree of preparedness for future moments, and be able to forecast to some extent what the next thing will be, so that you can bring yourself in the most diligent and prepared and loving way. But as I understand it now, no other moment actually exists except for the one we are currently in. So why not be present in it? And there are so many ways to not be present. I know everyone's got their own different flavour of that. Some people are really overly invested in their emotional experience, or perhaps being very dramatic, or putting an overemphasis on what it is they're feeling emotionally. Some people are too caught up in their head, in their mental body, and I know I've had some experience with that. Some people are perhaps hyper-fixated on the physical, rather than being deeply present in all of their feeling experience. They're really caught up in, perhaps you're feeling some sort of pain, or you're seeking pleasure, and you're overly invested in what it is to have a physical experience. Or others just, they're really into meditation. Perhaps they're just floating off all the time and having an experience that's not about what is actually here and now. Meditation is still a very important thing, but I'm enjoying exploring that as a grounded experience. What is it to meditate and have an awareness of the universe around you whilst being deeply centered in your own little self? Yeah, so it's an interesting one, being present. I'm going to talk from the experience of not being present that I understand. I know a lot of people my age I hear these days talking about being overthinkers, and they wear it as such a badge of honor, and I just have to actually cringe a little bit when I hear that. I get it. Yeah, it's a thing to be stuck in your mental body, rerunning scenarios and rethinking things all the time, and in a lot of ways, if you can't laugh about it, you'll probably cry about it. So I totally understand that there can be a point of pride in that you have such a developed mental world that you find yourself caught up in it all the time. I totally understand that. But I just think it's a bit lame to put yourself on some sort of pedestal just because you find yourself stuck in your own mental body all the time. But what I've found for myself is that I don't want to be stuck in my mental body and paraded around like some sort of prize. I want to strive for better for myself, and I've been enjoying these last few years really exploring my world beyond just what I think, allowing myself to practice stilling the mind and practice at least directing the mind to a purpose that will serve me rather than just letting myself get carried away with the thoughts in my head, and opening up to a more expansive experience of myself. And I had a big experience of this while I was traveling. I found that rather than fighting myself and fighting my own thoughts and my own inner world, if I just could breathe, let go, sink into the present moment, it wasn't that I would stop having a mental experience, but that I was having my physical, my emotional, my mental, and then beyond, a greater experience than that, feeling myself as the soul that I am, experiencing the land and the places I was visiting in such a heartfelt way. So for me, that's where my experience of being present probably started to shift more noticeably. I'd been working on this since I was probably 16 because I'd been interested in the wellness and mindfulness and meditation spaces for, well, probably before I was 16, honestly, but I started really committing to it more focusedly at that age. So I'd been working on being present since then, and gosh, my understanding has changed. I guess the next question is, how do you become more present? How do you actually get there? And I guess the first thing is that to become more present isn't a doing thing, it's a being thing. And where is there? I know that I've had a big shift with my experience of what it is to be present, and yet the best part is there's still so much more to be gained, so much more presence that I can experience, and there's more shifts and changes to be had. So that's sort of part of the beauty of it. A helpful impetus for me to start attempting some sort of change in my experience of being present was that I realized I was feeling nostalgic a lot. I would feel nostalgic nearly all the time for times that didn't even seem that shiny or bright when I was living them, but with a little bit of time and distance between myself and the experience I'd had, I was finding myself reminiscing and feeling wistful for simpler times. And that was a real indicator to me that perhaps through everything I endure, I can sort of grit my teeth through just to get through. There'll be a new obstacle on the other side. Of course, everything ends, there'll be peace, but then there's always a new problem, there's always a new challenge to be had, and you end up looking back wistfully on past learnings and past challenges and thinking to yourself, oh gosh, weren't those times easier, or I didn't know how good I had it, or there were simpler times. And that told me that maybe if I was just present here now, truly enjoying the journey as I was having it, there'd be less of this feeling of having missed out on the experience I was having, of needing to feel nostalgic or sort of travel back in my heart into the memories that I had. And I could in fact just be here now, be present, appreciate the learning as I was experiencing it. And I might have a really different experience of the life I was living. So that was a really key shift for me in starting to hold myself more accountable to being present. But the other thing is, there are, it's just the basic stuff that you're taught when you first enter the wellness spaces. It is helpful to meditate a little bit every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, just practicing being still and in your own space. I will also just add that something else that helped me start to shift my experience of being present was to stop being so self-centered. I think with the really overactive mental body sort of stuff, there at the center of it is sort of a self-obsession, very obsessed with your own thoughts, your own mental experience of life. And when I was able to start practicing in my meditations, I'd start by just taking a few deep breaths, getting centered in my heart, and I would then use my senses to experience the world around me. Stop being so self-obsessed with my own thinking and mental experience, and start to really listen to the world around me. So I would do my meditations and I would focus on what can I hear around me. Right now I can hear the cars, I can hear some wind, I can hear the major traffic on the highway, but I can also hear the cars driving behind me. It's fascinating. And then I would start to focus on what can I see. That's another way you can look at it. What can you see around you? And you can focus on what can you smell? What can you feel? And it was a great way to take the focus out of myself and bring it back to more of a partnered experience of life. So that was another way that I was able to start really working on being present, just using those 5 senses. That is my experience of what it is to be present. The best part is that it is still ever evolving and changing and growing, and I might have a whole new story to tell you about it next time. But it's been really fun to reflect on my journey, where I've come from, where I started, where I had a very active mental body, still very active, but a more active mental body, and I was thinking all the time, and I didn't feel like I could help myself, couldn't stop myself from thinking, to now being in a place where I can have moments of stilling the mind. I can certainly surrender my mind and allow myself to have a more expansive experience rather than just being stuck in my little mental body. I can allow myself to open and be surrendered to more of myself and my experience as a soul. But I'd love to hear what your experience of that sort of thing is, of what it is to be present, where you're at on your journey with it. It's a big long journey. And it's really hot in this car. So on that note, I am going to be done with this. It's lovely to talk to you all. I hope to see you in the next video. Alright, bye.